He's done it!
Throws up the floater.
Oh, it's astonishing.
Pulls off three-pointer.
Welcome back to another week of Off the Record. And this isn't just any episode. We have a guest on the show for the first time ever. We're joined by Grant Williams, forward for the Charlotte Hornets. Grant, it is a pleasure to have you. How are you feeling?
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to go deep into the weeds and hear all the crazy questions the fans have and even talk about the hot takes and hot topics that are on the way.
I know, yeah, you're going to act as like a third commentator. So this could be your debut into sports media. You know, whenever you're done with your career, this might be your first video that you can add to your audition reel, right?
I feel like I'll do decent enough, I mean,
I think you'll do great. Okay, so prior to the show starting, we were having an interesting conversation because you have a new teammate. Earlier today, it was announced that the Hornets traded Nurkic to the Utah Jazz for Colin Sexton. You guys have a fun fact in common, and that is that you both wear the number 2. So tell us a little bit about the conversation that is taking place between you and Colin right now, because I heard it's a little bit of a heated showdown for who might wear that next year.
I would even describe it as a heated showdown. About the hard part about the NBA is like you run into situations like these. Like in college, you never really had to deal with it. Versus NBA, like Colin's worn the number 2 his entire career, and I haven't had the opportunity to because I was in Boston. Number 2 was retired. I got to Dallas and I was going to wear number 2, but then they drafted Derek Lively. And let's just say there's a pecking order in certain situations. Normally it goes to the veteran. Normally, like even Corey Johnson at the time, who was the equipment manager, was like, I'm very confused because normally that has priority. But, they gave it to Lively, and he did it in the most respectful way possible. He wore it because of his father who had just passed or who had passed. He's the second. So I didn't argue with it and I kind of took 3. But then when I got to Charlotte, I remember telling Jeff Peterson, our GM, I was like, listen, I'm not coming out of this jersey. And I said the one caveat is if we drafted either Cooper or Dylan, and I know I would be forced out of the jersey. So that's a little different versus right now, Colin wears number 2 and it's rough because we both wear it for significant reasons. Like I haven't had the chance to, but he's worn his whole career. I think we have very similar reasons. My grandfather just passed away in February. So I wear it because of him as well. My friend got killed. There's a bunch of reasons why I wear number 2. So it's a sentiment. So but I remember back in the time when I was in Dallas, I offered Derek Lively, I think $150,000 for the jersey number. And he said no. And that's how things matter. So I remember with Colin, there's no number that he could give that would make me want to give the jersey up. And that makes me feel bad as a teammate because I've always been a good teammate. I've always tried to, make sure there's no contention through the team. But it's just one of those things that is very hard. So I feel bad saying no and not taking any offer, not taking the finance because people, that's a life-changing amount of money. But at the same time, it's not about the money. It's about the reason why. And both coming back from the injury, it's a little confidence piece too because I felt more confident in the number as well. Like when I got traded here in Charlotte. So I just it's one of those things you can't really deal with, and you just gotta have a deep, mature conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how much a number means to a player. And, like you said, you have your reasonings why you wear 2. Colin has his reasons why he wears 2. I know you mentioned that Colin's never not worn the number 2.
Yeah.
So
It's like him finding a new number, first time of his career. I feel like he says, he's superstitious about that too. So it's just very, it's like a very interesting, difficult situation that I feel like none of us want to go through, but we all, come from different backgrounds, come from different areas, have our own journeys and stories. So you're going to have to go through this every now and again.
yeah, no, absolutely. I'm sure there will be another time. I mean, hopefully y'all don't get traded around too much in the future, but I'm sure there will be probably another situation where there's going to be, a number debate and you're going to have to figure it out. But let's say that you, for example, you are put in another Dallas situation where you have to offer up some type of check. What's the most you're putting on the table for number 2?
I think the issue is you have to be logical at the end of the day too. The same way I told him, I said, you offer me $2 million, I wouldn't feel comfortable taking that from you. But also at the same time, it just it's priceless. So I offered Lively 150, and when he told me it was priceless, then I was like, listen, sounds good. I'll look for a new number. So it just depends on the scenario. I think the most I've ever heard of someone paying for a jersey number in the NBA is 250,000. So honestly, uh, that's even tough. But 250 probably is the number.
That's a pretty
That's
penny
a
right
lot.
there. Quarter mil?
That's a good, yeah, that's a lot.
Ooh.
For a number?
For a number, which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Sheesh.
It also shows the type of money that guys are just kind of throwing around in a way. It's like, all right, guys, we got to be a little more cerebral with our finances.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. If I had 250 to throw around, I definitely would not be throwing it at a number. But
What would you be throwing it at?
a house.
A car?
Investments.
Student loan?
But say you already have each of those things accomplished. All those things are done. Houses paid for, cars already taken care of, student loans are now taken off. What is $250,000 going to? Because that's really what it is. All of us we don't have student loans.
That's a good
Mm.
point.
Each purchased a home or something like that. Like, so it's not like we're like starving. We've maybe taken care of our family members already, or purchased homes for our moms, yada yada yada. So like, what would 250 go to?
Yeah, that's a good question. It sounds like more of an ego thing at that point. Like you just feel like you got something from it because you gave something up. I guess that's human nature, right? Like you sacrifice something, you want to feel like you got something in return. But to your point, it's like, what is that to
What
Yeah.
means enough to you guys where you'd be willing to pay $250,000 for? Is there something superstitious? Is there something where you're like, you know what, like this means so much that I'd be willing to pay $250,000 for it?
No, I don't think there's anything like I'm not superstitious, first of all, so I don't think that there's anything that's worth that much like money to me. If I had to put 250K into something, it would be so. This is a little bit of a backstory about me. My mom's side of the family is from Gary, Indiana. A lot of them still live in Gary, Indiana. If you know anything about Gary, it's not the best city that's been not run well by government for years. A lot of people have left. It relies on the steel mill industry. I would put money into the city some way, somehow by starting a company or business that thrived in Gary, or just like investing into property, or I don't know, just some way to like revitalize the city. That's what I would do. That would mean a lot to me. So that's my way of using it.
I'm still thinking because like if I'm thinking hypothetically, like everything's paid off, like my parents' debt is paid off,
Everything's
nothing.
paid off.
I don't know. I might just give it to my parents and tell them like go chase your dreams while you still got time left, I guess. I don't know. Like
That's the issue, is that a lot of guys still can do that without getting
see,
charged from
so it's
somebody
like,
else.
what? I'll go build a school, I guess. Like an academy. Like I don't even know.
There's a lot.
That's kind of wild. That's wild.
There's a lot
Chat,
you
you
could
need to tell
do.
us what would you spend like all that money on? Like 250? Like, chat, please tell us because we're running kind of into a wall here. Cause
Yeah,
like
Grant's-
if you have everything to all the standards Grant just said, no debts, no nothing, like everything. It's just like excess at that point. What would you use it on?
Yeah, chat, let us know because Grant's thrown every single
You can think of.
yeah.
It has us feeling very materialistic. Like you start to really like if you have everything, then what else would you need more money for? Like, dang.
Everything you need already, like in your mind, like what could that money do for you? That's where it's like
nothing.
Like, realistically, that's why I even told my brother about it. He's like, "You're a fool if you turn down $2 million or $3 million or something like that. Like a million, you're not a fool. 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, like you're an idiot. Versus like $250,000. Like you know anything about the players' current financial situation in terms of our current CBA and also the money that players are making nowadays. I know some guys who make that every day. Every couple of weeks. So that's where it's like, all right, what do you talk about?
Every couple weeks is insane. What?
Your biweekly check, biweekly check might be 270.
Yeah, that's insane. That
Yeah,
honestly like tease it up for a really good question, Lachelle. I know that you let me backtrack. We have our first segment of the day is basically just a Q&A. So we want to get to know you a little bit. We want the chat to be able to ask some questions as well. So we're opening it up. Chat, whatever you want to ask Grant, throw it in there. We're going to get to them. But Lachelle, you had a question about Grant's time with the NBA Players Association. So I feel like this is a good segue now that we're talking a little bit about you know, just pay and you know, on all that. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss it to you, and we'll get into our little Q&A here.
Yeah, you mentioned CBA, and I don't know if like you're on Twitter all the time when people somehow always just bring up the CBA somehow,
Bashing
salary.
me and CJ all the time.
Yeah, okay. See, this is my question because, like, Chad, if you don't know, Grant is the first vice president of the Players Association. So he's on that executive board with CJ, who is the president. And I guess, like, for the fans, because I feel like they're very harsh with, you know, the Players Association. It's always someone to blame, which is usually CJ. And, like, kind of all this blame about how you guys messed up this CBA and this is why the situation is. Is there any insight you could give fans on things that they don't necessarily understand when it comes to negotiating a CBA? And also, if like the criticism CJ gets at times is even fair or right when they kind of don't understand all the intangibles of it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're fair, honestly, just in terms of like, I'm not trying to protect them either, like, or even myself. I think that what you realize is, you know, you do your job. Your job is to do what's best for the players and try your best. You're not going to be perfect. You may not make the right decisions every single time, but you know, you strategize. You try and make the product the best possible for fans as well, and for the guys that are coming after you. So in terms of where the money's going, in terms of, you know, off the court, in terms of anything you could think of that's within a CBA negotiation, from play rules, from financial aprons, like that's another thing, creating exceptions, all these different things. And a lot of times we're not even the ones technically negotiating all of it. Like, we're part of the decision making process, and some things we might not even be informed about when they're agreed to. So that's, you know, sometimes where we have to, I think we have a great group of guys, especially this current executive committee, is I feel like is very, very dedicated. New additions in Karl Anthony Towns and Gabe Vincent, and the guys that are on the board really do care. So we never want to do things that we feel are inappropriate or wrong for the players. If we look at this current CBA structure, it brings a lot of parity. I think that you see across many sports leagues. You see in the NFL, you really don't really know who's going to be the Super Bowl champion at the end of the day, and they have success in their product. Similar to, like, if you look at different other sports leagues, you look at baseball, you typically know the teams that spend the most because they don't have much harsh tax penalties. Typically, are the ones that play in the final. You look at last year, it was the Yankees and the Dodgers. You look overseas to European markets. You look at the Man Cities. You look at the Liverpools. You look at the guys who are the top spenders in the leagues. Those pretty much dominate. So with the NBA, you know, you don't want, I think that was this current CBA structure. What happened was, you know, the Golden State Warriors had that success in the past because the Lakers and those guys did a phenomenal job of not only drafting the team, but also spending and capitalizing on the time that they had their window. And that's the thing about the current CBA structure, is that you don't want teams to lose based off their draft. Like a team like Boston prior to this year, where they traded for Drew and Kristaps. When I was there that year, that team was Jaylen Brown drafted by a team, Jayson Tatum drafted by a team, Peyton Pritchard, myself, Rob Williams. Like, you don't want those teams, like a team like Cleveland right now, who drafted all their players. Like, you don't want them to have to leverage or sell off their players because they're running into harsher penalties, not being able to move. So these are things that we can take into the next CBA, and, you know, pick things in and out and say, okay, this might be too cruel. This might be too harsh. This is something we have to adjust to. So, you know, this is one of those things that this current CBA was kind of addressing the past structure. And, you know, we've learned a lot from this current negotiation. We'll be able to take into the next one and help not only the players that are currently playing, but the next 10, 15, 20 years of guys that will be able to play after us.
Yeah, that gives great perspective, because I feel like every time a trade happens or money talks happen, Twitter's in flames. They're like, CJ, you did it. You're the problem. You did the CBA. And I'm like, there's so much more to it that maybe you don't understand until like how you explained.
And there's a
And
lot of
it's
things that
like,
come up.
yeah, they're upset all the
There's a lot of
time.
things that you don't even see, like even in terms of, like, we previously were never allowed to invest alongside ownership into companies. So say, for example, back in, what was it, 2011, or back when Kevin Garnett was playing, he wanted to buy AS Roma, the soccer club in Italy. But because his current owner at the time had a percentage of the franchise, I think exceeding 5%, he couldn't invest. Versus if you look at that organization to date, if he would have purchased back in 2011 and even sold his portion to date, he'd be close to 100 millionaire, if not billionaire,
Wow.
based on that alone. So these are
Wow.
things that, like, you have to talk about in negotiations as well, not just from the basketball product, but from the off the court in terms of life product, and being able to, you know, take bits and pieces. We've experienced what the bubble looked like and saw how the social impact investment that the league had come out of it came from the players on our side as well. So like these are things that I feel like don't get talked about a ton because they're not really pushed out or even, published. These are things that we're just doing behind the scenes. So it's all about making the best impact for the players of this current generation. And honestly, not even just the players, but the people that are surrounding them, people that, whether it's the communities they want to affect and impact, whether it's the, family member that has no real understanding of the financial structure or the things that go into being an NBA player. These are all things we're trying to protect players for.
You're talking a little bit about the business of the trade, or I'm sorry, not the business of the trade, the business of the NBA. We have a question from our editor, and I'm going to read this word for word. So you started your career with the Celtics where you bonded with guys like Tatum, Brown, and Smart. You guys had some incredible playoff runs before you were traded to Dallas, who the Celtics beat the following year to win the championship. What did the trade teach you about the business of the NBA?
Yeah. The thing it taught me was like they always talk about the business and how the NBA, you have to not only protect yourself, but also be authentic to yourself. And I was always a player that I'm still to this day a person that does whatever it takes for the team, whether it's on the court to win the game, whether it's inviting people over to the house, whether it's, trying to make sure that coach makes you want to do like these team events, coordinating them. I've always been that guy. And it's not to say that you shouldn't be or anything of that nature. I think that what I've learned is like you still have to be authentic to yourself. If something you enjoy, then do it. So in Boston, I was fortunate to have a lot of great people, like whether it's from top to bottom. I say that organization, they were honest with me. They treated me well. We have, some have your things sometimes, but I look back and I'm always just like, that's a great, well-run organization. Dallas, I feel like there's good organization, good people in that organization as well. I went into that situation, did what I was asked. And sometimes, you have to understand that's a business at the end of the day too. So you might be doing something that you're asked to do, but if it compromises the role that you're in or compromises someone else's position, then, they're going to protect that rather than protecting the things that they're asking you to do, So like, these are the things that you kind of learn. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's not, this is the poorest term, like self-preservation is more so that you just have to be mindful of your environment. You have to be more conscious and be more, understanding that you have to, adapt and try your best to just do right by those around you, but also understand that your career is prioritized as well. So the benefit is that I was able to learn that as these ventures have gone on. And I'm in a great situation now in Charlotte too, where these guys I think are driven to make this team the best organization in the NBA. And they really care about that and it's really passionate for them. So I always hope to be a part of that process and help build that because I'm from Charlotte as well. And I really care about this team and this organization, this process. So that's really what I've learned and along the journey is that you have to be authentic to yourself. You can't overextend yourself, but also you have to make sure you are conscious of your surroundings and environment to be able to be be your best self.
You mentioned being from Charlotte, playing for Charlotte. Did you ever think that at any point in your career you would end up with your hometown team?
Yeah, I think that like I was one of those where I thought it would be later in life. Like I thought it would be like probably towards the end of my career because I was always nervous that, no one ever is like, I want to go play for my hometown. Like, because you normally deal with a lot of things outside of basketball. You deal with whether it's family, whether it's friends that you grew up in, whether it's the neighborhood. You used to have a lot of stuff that you have to balance. But in all honesty, like it's been the most refreshing thing that I could have used for the NBA. Like I was able to find my love for basketball again in Charlotte, and really just found that passion and care, that charisma to be able to go out there every single day and perform to the best of my ability. And I was playing some of the best basketball of my career, especially when I first got traded here and then started this season. Then I got hurt. And now it's still like you're surrounded by this community and supporter, not just from family, but organization. So it really is just honestly has been gives me extra life to be able to play the game that I love.
Do you feel like that hurts or helps you being so close to family? Like, do you have them pop in on you every once in a while? Like, do you like being that close to home, or is it a situation where, you wish you had maybe a little bit of distance?
Now that I'm in it, like now that I'm here and comfortable, I feel like it's a lot. Like if you asked me before I came here, it would have been like, oh, I just want to go kind of a little bit further away, whether it's even if it's Atlanta or like teams like that were kind of like nearby but not close enough where people could be like same way with college. Like you go away from college because you're like you don't want your family visiting you all the time, but you don't want them too far where you can't see them at all.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I felt before I got here. But now it's like I feel great. Like I'm thankful that I was able to spend time with the injury actually helped me be able to see my grandfather till, be around him while he was going through his before he passed, and similar to being around there for my grandmother, be able to be there for my mom, be there for my dad and his health, just do things you're not able to do when you're other markets. So that's where I say, like, honestly, it's been so influential for me.
No, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I understand the college reference because I feel like that's how a lot of people feel. And especially, I mean, we're all still young, right? We're in our mid-20s. So it's like, we're not that far removed from school, and that feeling of, oh, like, do I want to be far away and have this freedom and, the chance to live on my own and grow and develop as a person and not be tied down to where my family is? Or is it a situation where you might be in the backyard of your hometown and right there in your hometown, and constantly have that opportunity? So I feel like a lot of younger people, and even I'm sure speaking to the college basketball players of the world or high school basketball players of the world who are watching this, who might find a little bit of hope or insight from what you're saying about just like the ability to be close to home, and just with time how that changes your perspective on things and that feeling. I do want to pivot a little bit into the conversation that we were having about your trade. You mentioned it, you were in Dallas. There was obviously a huge trade in Dallas earlier this season with Luka, and a lot of conversation around Nico Harrison. Now, you being with the organization for some time, had the opportunity to get to know Nico a bit. Want to get your thoughts on that conversation surrounding him, kind of some of the backlash he's received, and then just overall thoughts on the Luka trade.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, Nico was doing what he thought was best for the organization. Um, a lot of people didn't agree. Do I agree myself? Probably not. Just because of the talent that Luka Doncic is, like, he's a phenomenal talent. He might be the second best player in the league behind Jokic. And you look at it and you're like, how did that even come about? Like, how did that conversation even get started? So those are the things that's hard. Plus the way it happened. I think that the thing that kind of frustrated, I feel like people, was the fact that he didn't have this conversation openly. Like, he didn't go to Luka and say, listen, brother, like, I really think that, you're a phenomenal person, phenomenal player, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just going to make sure because he did, I think he did it the way he did it. He wanted to do right by Luka, because I feel like Luka was really thinking about, like, Luka would have never left Dallas. He would have never left. Versus, like, if he did leave, I think the only 3 teams he might go to is like LA, Miami, like teams of that nature. So I think that in Nico's mind, he did right by him by trading him there. But, like, realistically, if he would have approached him or even approached his agent and be able to communicate, like, hey, like, this is the deal we're thinking about doing. And the fact that he did get a phenomenal player in AD, he did get a really good young prospect in Max Christie, but to only get one first round pick, that's another thing where you're like, how did that happen? So that's why I feel like everyone was so caught off guard and also frustrated. And as a Dallas fan, how do you feel that someone's willing to trade that your franchise player and do it in the way that they did it? So I feel like that's the most difficult thing about the trade. And then in terms of, Luka or even just AD and those, like, talent wise, like, Dallas is going to be very competitive. They're fortunate that they have the number 1 pick in Cooper, because it gives them a whole different trajectory, especially with Kyrie being out. But, LD is going to change the Lakers franchise if he stays for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Like, he's a guy that if you have him, you're competitive, and AD, he's a guy that's competitive as well, but he's also 32, 33 now. So he might have a shorter career span than Luka. So they have to capitalize on the window that they're in. In terms of Nico as a person, I always say, like, the thing I'll look back to my Dallas career and say, Dallas tenure, even though it was short, to be able to say was that they were honest with me, in a sense of Jason Kidd was always honest with me, even in the situation when I was being traded. I knew I was going to get traded like weeks before. I was like communications with them about kind of where we could go, where I could go, and just kind of working with them on where to end up. So I would say that that's the one thing I would say, is that Nico and J Kidd were honest at the time. There was one thing that Nico wasn't honest about, and that's where I ended up. But you can't hold grudges. You can't be frustrated by that. I think that his job is to do his best for the organization, and in both instances, that's what he thought was it. So, that's where you try your best just to be professional. And I think that Luka did a phenomenal job being professional and competing at the highest level for the Lakers, even though he never thought he would be there.
You're obviously analyzing this from a little bit of a front office perspective. Do you eventually see yourself working as a coach or in a front office position after your playing career is out?
Yeah, I don't want to coach. That's the one thing I don't want to do. I love these. I love players. And I'm not dealing with them day by day. But in terms of the front office, absolutely, because like I've always been a person that kind of that's a dream of mine to be able to create a franchise, create a team, compete, win in multiple different facets. And it's something that I really enjoy. Like you ask my agent, I'll call him all the time, just like, hey, what's going on? Like, what's the news? Like, is this coming to happen? This is going to happen. Like, I just enjoy that part. And I even look at myself as an asset sometimes. I remember I joked when I was a rookie in second year, I would joke with Danny Ainge and I'd be like, listen, not gonna lie to you. I understand it's a business, but if you trade me for 2 second-round picks or a dishwasher, I'll be a little bit upset. But if you throw me in a deal for Kevin Durant, bygones be bygones, brother. I would have done it myself. So like those are the things I would joke about. And that's unconventional, but like it's something that I enjoy. Even when Giannis, or I forget what, I joked with JP and those guys, and I was like, honestly, you could throw me in the trade too, because I know that guy is worth it. And I just like it's not that I want to get traded because I don't at all, but I also know like at the end of the day, there's talent, there's opportunity, and you have to capitalize on it. So, I'm a guy that like tries to look at it from kind of that role rather than looking at it as a player and be frustrated in the time or get worried by it. Like even during trade deadline or trade season, I'm just like, listen, guys, at the end of the day, like you see Luka Doncic got traded, like no one's untouchable. So just be prepared, do your job, show up, be professional, be a great teammate, be a person that people can look to. But like if you're stressing over it, there's nothing more, you can't control it. So like when I was a second or third year player, when I was in Boston, and I thought I might get moved. Yeah, I was a little more mature about it. Versus nowadays, I'm like, listen, just show up and do your thing.
I want to pivot to an off the court question.
Mhm.
So we know that you are friends with Michael Rubin and that you've gone to a few white parties in your time. I want to know the craziest white party story that you have and the craziest interaction that you've had.
The thing I'll say is like it's funny because people always were comparing that to the stuff that's going on, as we know, with the legal thing, the guy that's in that case.
Yeah.
And I said the one thing that I'll say is I did not witness none of that stuff ever even happened. I've never been to one of those parties. I went to Rubin's parties, and there's nothing in comparison. I feel like the Rubin's parties, there was a bunch of people that, like, in all honesty, like my relationship with Rubin and us being cool, like if otherwise I would not be in. There's 8-listers. Those are the people that like I walked in the first white party. It was Beyonce and Jay-Z walking. Like I was like, holy crap! Like this is super cool. So like that's like stuff that you like be interacting with like Dirk and like people like that. Like I just wouldn't have connections with other than the fact that like we're all in entertainment. So in terms of wildest story, like I wouldn't say I've witnessed anything crazy. Like most times it's like cocktail hour, and then you might have like a little dinner. Then after the dinner, you might go to a club. But outside of that, like I've never witnessed anything crazy. So that's something that I can say too. And then and secondly, in terms of crazy interaction, it's stuff like I just said, like meeting people that, even people that you would be like, I would never be in a room with them. Like whether it's talking to the CEO of Under Armour, or talking to this person of like hanging out with Drewski and these guys like that. Like I didn't personally know before, but through Rubin, you make these connections. So having relationships like a guy like Travis Scott and people like that, be able to text Quavo, like these things wouldn't have happened. And it just connects, I feel like, the industry a little bit more. So that's why I say he's done a good job of making people come together in a way and kind of like a fellowship capacity, and while also having a good time, whether it's drinks, whether it's, eating, stuff like that, just being able to have a vibe. So I wouldn't say anything. It's not like the other guy. That's what I'll say for sure. No.
Not like the
Oh
other
gosh,
guy. It's
the
one
other
that
guy
we
is
just
crazy.
Won't name him.
Yeah, I'm not.
Redacted.
That is a guy, the name not to be named. That is, I've definitely, I can say in my whole life, I've never been around or been in the party of that capacity.
At this point, you got to make it clear. You got to make it clear.
At this point,
I do wonder with the, the white party. Have you ever seen someone successfully like crash and actually get in there, or have you? Oh, okay. So the security really is what people see like on TikTok, where it's like extremely hard to get in there.
Realistically, like you got to think these people are the cream of the crop in a way. Like there's no way, like the security that's there. Like you go through metal detectors. This is like you going through that. It's like you feel like you're going through a Secret Service to get to the White House. Like, and I've been to both, and it's just like they do a good job of protecting people to be able to have them in a comfortable position. Because like the worst thing that can happen is if you're Rubin, and it's like you throw something like that, and you're like, oh, like this person snuck in, and now they approach this person or did, it's just like you want to make sure people feel protected and feel safe. So I would say that he's done a phenomenal job each year over year. And I think that as a person, as a human, he's done a good job of like keeping those relationships and keeping them fresh.
I'm curious to know, because you have like a kind of broad spectrum of people who are there. You have like your influencers, you have your athletes, you have your Jay-Z and Beyonce's of the world, right? Your Kim K, the Khloe Kardashian family. Are there levels to the white party? Like, is there a VIP area and like a VIP,
Oh,
triple VIP, or everyone's just together?
Everyone's just vibing. Everybody's together. Like I would look back to it and I'm like, I remember I met Coco Jones and Coi Leray, and they're like two like nicest people. I was talking to Meg, and it's just like they're very like they were kind. And like you have Katie walk up, and I remember I was like, all right, what's up, brother? Like you just kind of is like one of those things that like people, if you're there, like you're pretty much a good human. I feel like you'd be a good human being where you wouldn't be like, oh, can I take this picture or can I do this? Like you're more so just in an environment where you're just trying your best to like meet people in a way. So like that's where it's like even with like people from players, like you see guys like I've connected. The reason why I'm friends with DeMar Hamlin and Joe Burrow and those guys because of the white party. I wouldn't like our sports don't interact, they don't cross. But like the fact that we were able to like meet there, it's like, okay, now I can support you in a way. Like be like, all right, cool, what do you need? Like I'll send my jersey to their foundation, like things of that nature that you would feel uncomfortable doing if you didn't have those social scenarios. Like nowadays it's like, okay, I can be like, hey, like I have my charity foundation golf event. Will you do mind coming? Text them on the side, and then next thing you know, they pull up. Like that's stuff that wouldn't be possible.
Oh, shout out Rubin for being that dot connector.
Sounds like a time.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
That's what I'm saying. It's like a networker in a way.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I mean, like I said, he's probably one of the best dot connectors there are in the business. I mean, obviously, he has a pretty extensive Rolodex, and you see that even with some of his other events, Fanatics Fest. I've had the pleasure of going to in its first year, and it's like everybody shows up for him, and it seems like everybody's genuinely excited to be there and help him out and vice versa, as from what it sounds like from your perspective too, is like the guest of the party, the guest of Fanatics Fest, while they may be Rubin's guest, it seems like they're willing to help everybody out. So that's a cool situation that he set up, and shout out him. W's in the chat for Rubin. I have another question for you, and this dates back to your time in Boston, and this may be one of your most viral moments. It's you in that Batman costume.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us why you did that, because I don't know if I've ever seen you answer like the why behind it, and what can we expect for Halloween this year?
Yeah, so when I was in Boston, we played Denver, and we played Denver the first, like my second year or something like that. And I did pretty well against Jokic. I was guarding Jokic and everything else, but like didn't think anything of it. That next year, we played him again in Denver, and same thing. I think I had a great game, and also I guarded him very, very well. He got to a point where he was frustrated, got a technical, all this stuff happened. So after that game, I think it was my dad who texted me and said they're going to start having to call you Batman because you're locking up Joker so much. And so I jokingly said it to Jaylen Brown, and I was like, yeah, my dad said, start calling me Batman because I keep locking up Yoke. And he ends up going to the media and says, grabs back there saying, guys got to call him back Batman. Like I think of more of like Frank Lucas or like these other names, but then it just picked up, like it just went. And let me just say, I always say after I tell this story, since that day, Yoke has been kicking my tail for the past 2.5 years. And I like, it's like, goodness, like y'all, if y'all would have saved me out, like, when they talk about Kobe or Mike, where they're like, this guy was the teammate was talking trash and I'm the one that has to guard him. Like, that's what's
you're not helping me. You're not helping me at all.
You're screwing me up. But at the same time, I thought it was funny. So I was like, we played on Halloween that year. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show up in Batman. I'm gonna buy into the meme. And so I pulled up. I went to Party City. I didn't even get like a professional Batman costume. Like some people, like you look at certain they buy these extravagant. They get a stylist, do all this stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm just a normal guy. So I'm gonna go to this Party City. Went to Party City, I think the day before. Found this costume that moderately fit. I was like, all right, cool. Wear it to the game. Mind you, it's the only outfit I wore into the game. So that's another thing that I didn't realize. Like when I wore it in, I was like, that means I have to wear it out. So I also had a good game that night. So then I had to do media. So that's why when I wore it in, I'm starting to get dressed again to put it back on. And I started doing an interview. I was like, I'm going to buy into the role completely. So I did the voice and everything. And then JT was just like, what the hell are you doing? And I kind of broke character, but I went right back to it. I was like, right back to the scene. So, and then from that day on, like even like who's our VP of our sports medicine, Pat Chasey, his kids thought of me as Batman. They're like, "Are you Batman?" And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know who that is. And I would just buy into it with the kids too, and like it was a good little interaction. But yeah, so that's how it all started, and since that day, that's been my nickname.
Batman. Yeah, that interview's funny. And then there's a clip of you leaving the arena and your window is down. I don't know have you seen that? And there's like
I
a
haven't seen
kid
that
that
one.
recorded you leaving in your Batman costume. It's like Batman's driving this Audi.
Oh yeah, the Batmobile. They joked. I saw that on the meme too. Like they had everything you could think of. Boston fans are amazing. Like they can get on you bad. Like they can like if you look at George Niang right now what he's going through. I'm just like I remember those days. But at the same time, like they also support you. So like they used to have the bat signal. Like anytime I would sub in, they would like tweet out the bat signal. It was just all these like goofy things that would happen.
That's actually
hilarious. That whole story now makes more sense. Like so see, that means Joker be lying when he be acting like basketball is like part-time for him when he's like he's looking so now we know that
Joker's
he
the ultimate
definitely saw
competitor.
it. Yeah. He
Yeah.
knew. Cause that's crazy. See, Joker, you're not fooling us anymore. We all thought like, oh, Joker doesn't watch the tweets and stuff. You're watching because he been on you ever since now. That's crazy.
Whipping my tail too. You look at the stats. I think he has like those two games. I think he might have had like maybe 16 or 18 or whatever else. Didn't have a ton of assists and stuff like that. Now it's like 29, 13 assists, 9 rebounds. Like he hasn't gotten 40 yet. I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood.
That's what it is.
Somebody's gonna find the stats now. You're gonna randomly see a tweet and be like, "Don't worry, Grant. I went and looked up the stats for you. This is what he did every time." Like someone's gonna go find it now.
Since that day, for sure.
No, that's actually hilarious. That's actually hilarious. I want to talk about another moment real quickly before we pivot into our next segment. You also went viral a couple years ago for some trash talk with Jimmy Butler in the Eastern Conference Finals. Mm-hmm. Walk us through what you said, because I've seen the clips, but I want our audience to know exactly what was exchanged between you and Jimmy.
Is this non-suited for workplace? So I can like actually say what it was.
Oh, you can say, yeah, say exactly, say exactly what she said.
Yeah. So basically, that game, I think it was game 2, I think, of the Eastern Conference Finals. We're playing, competing. I think we're up at the time by like 8 or something like 6, or I forget what it is. And when I shoot the 3, he yells, "Hell no, he ain't here." So I make the shot. And I said, "Nah, I'm here." Like that's all I said when I'm jumping back after I made it 3. I'm like, "Nah, I'm here." And then he makes that little shimmy, his move, his little right shimmy bump. He gets the and one, and then he says, "I'm here too." Like he just like it's literally the most corny trash talk you could imagine. But like we're just like, and then after that we both blacked out. I don't know what he said. I don't know what I said, but we were just like head to head, like just like talking, like if you know Jimmy, great guy, like goofy guy, like he's competitive as hell, but like he's a goofy dude. So like even trash talking him, it's not like it's like this crazy like we're Draymond. You have to be witty and think about things you have to say. So like that's what happened, and then from that on, I think we're up by like 6 or whatever else. He ended up scoring like I think 3 straight times on me, that like those next 3 possessions, and they were tough shots. Like it was like good contests, stuff like that. But like he scored 3 or 4 straight times, and also we stopped scoring. So if we had kept scoring, we would have won the game. But we literally went cold, and we ended up losing that game. And that's when it kind of got amplified. And they said, "Don't poke the bear," all this stuff. And I was like, realistically, guys, like I think at the end of that, if you look at the box score at the end of the game, I think I scored our last point before JB scored. I had like 8 straight, and then JB scored the last 2, but they went on like a 16-2 run. And then from that, the rest of the series, I guarded him well. Like I mean, look at game 3, game 4. Like there was a clip of me in game 4. I blocked his shot and grabbed it and like looked at him after. Like, but we ended up losing in 7. So if we don't lose that series, it's a different conversation. But like realistically, he did. But listen, I will tell you the truth. He bust my ass. So like it's one of those things where like at the time, like I was like, yeah, I didn't think too much of it. But then when you rewatch the clips, I'm like, yeah, he was hitting some tough ass shots. And then Duncan hit a 3, Tyler Hero hit a 3, and we're just like, oh, look back, and that game was cooked.
I know Jimmy mentioned in that post-game press conference that he enjoys trash talk, right? It like sharpens his focus. I know you're not a big trash talker, so like since then, have you traded words with him, or did that moment teach you not to like?
No, I always go like.
Okay.
The thing about me is that like you don't want like if you're a competitor, you want to play guys at their best. Like you don't want to play KD when he's not locked in. Like, you don't want to play Steph when he's not at his best. Like, of course, you might not be like poked a bear to a point where you're like, oh, I'm trying to get you to score 56 on me tonight or 60 on me tonight. But you're going to compete. Like, you look at PJ Tucker, you look at guys that play in my role. Like, we're not going to shy away from anything. We're going to compete to the best of our ability. We're going to go. Like, if you want to chat, we can chat. And you might have more opportunity to score than we would do, but we're going to compete to the highest level. So, I think we've talked still. Like, I remember after, like, when we played, I didn't play him this year because he was in Golden State when I got hurt. The year before that, I played him, and like we chatted then too. Like we're always gonna chat and talk and compete, but like I don't shy away from many people. If there's gonna be nights where I get my ass kicked. There's gonna be nights where I lock up. It's part of the game.
Hey, stand on business. Stand on business. All right, we're gonna get into some
Justin
rapid
Bieber.
fire.
Right.
Wait, Justin Bieber?
You haven't seen the video? He's like, you're mad because I'm standing on business.
No.
I'm standing on business. He was serious. He was upset.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. No, I haven't seen that. I've clearly not been paying attention to him. We're going to jump into some rapid fire questions real quickly before we transition into the remainder of the show. So, Grant, I want to know, give me off the top of your head, face of the league convo. Who do you think it is?
European or American?
Who do you think it is?
Give
me both. Give me both.
There's never, like, it's tough for the league's face to be a European. So if it's an American player, like, it's either Tatum or Hallie. Just because they both did a phenomenal job. He did a phenomenal job this year. He led his team to the final. Like, and he's thing about being the face of the league is you can't have all the extra, like, outside of it. Like, I would say AE because of his talent, but like, you can't be saying you can't be saying what he said in the past or doing the stuff off the court. The league wants to, be able to attract all markets. So, but in terms of talent, it would be Ant or JT. Those two are two. But if not, then it'd be one of the European guys who, feel like you said, Yoke doesn't really care. I feel like Yoke cares about basketball. It's all the extra stuff. It's like the actual, like, appearances, like Yoke or Luca or any European. Like, even, like, I would say Shea could be the face of the NBA too. It's just that, like, he's technically Canadian, but like he's another guy but he's in a small market. So like that's the hard part. You don't really know who's going to be the face because you kind of want the best of both. You want someone that also has the notoriety and the ability to lead the league for years to come, but you also want them to be able to be like someone that's reputable and people also will have the respect of their peers and they kind of will lead and look to. So I think it's a great conversation to have. I think there's a lot of names that could be it. But like you look at guys like Tatum, you look at guys like Shea, you look at guys that put in the work. Those are the guys that I look to. They also have the clean image.
I was surprised you said Hallie because I don't think anybody has said Hallie, but I respect that. I love Halliburton. I'm a Pacers fan.
People say he's the most, like, whatever it was, they voted him the most overrated player, whatever else it is. Like, he's a guy. He might not necessarily be like, you look at it like a Steve Nash and those guys in the past. Like, people used to talk trash about him, but like as their peers, you got to respect them because they're performing, they're doing their work. So he's in a tough market too in Indiana, but at the same time, he's done his job. He's done everything that he needed to do to show that he's a player that level. Like, he went from not playing in the Olympics to leading his team to the finals. Not many guys can say that.
I don't even believe the vote was real. That's my little conspiracy. They talk about 11 people voted. I'm like, who did it? Who did it?
It's an anonymous poll. They do it year over year. Like, it's like it used to be David Aldridge walking around asking. Most guys just say no. Like, they're not gonna answer. But like, there's always gonna be those guys who answer.
I need to know. I just need to know the caliber. Like, are we talking about? I need them to be like, this many all-stars actually voted. Then I would be like, okay, now I could.
An anonymous poll if you're given
no
the
fun.
details.
You gotta put a name on it. If you're not gonna put a name on it, leave it on the playground.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. But you guys, as in the media, you guys want to just have things to talk about, right? So like, you got to have something to talk about. If all of a sudden, that's why you see 400-something players in the NBA, 500 players in the NBA, 200 voted, 160 voted. Not everybody's going to participate.
All right, next rapid fire question: who was your favorite player growing up?
I always say it, and to this day, he might clown me for it and joke with me about it. But Draymond. Like Draymond, Boris Diaw, like you look at guys like that played my role and played honestly, a guy like Brandon Bass. It's very weird. Like, they're not names that you'd be like, oh my gosh. Like, of course, like the one name that I would say that I loved was, Jamal Crawford and Steph, just because they're two guys I would never play like, but I love watching them play. But the guys that played my position and kind of set the role for me for the future, those are the guys I respected the most and I wanted to be like. So like, I always joke and tell Draymond, I remember during the finals, he said, "You want to beat me?" I said, "How I'm trying to be if I'm better than you right now?" Like, that's the stuff that we would joke, like talk trash about. But Draymond will always have my respect. Even when he calls me, like people always like, bro, how do you keep saying Draymond's your guy if he calls you out? I'm like, he's just holding, like he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's trying to hold people accountable, and he's telling his honest opinion, and you can't get mad at that. Like, and at the same time, we have our own private conversations, we have our own private relationship. Like him doing that stuff publicly, like I don't take any offense to it. He's just doing his job.
Mm. Who gives you the most trouble on the court?
Guys that like are small and can shoot. So like the Darius Garlands, the Stephs, those guys of the world, like the quick guards that are twitchy that can really shoot, like CJ McCollum, like people like that. I struggled with. Like it's funny because even Kyrie, like statistically, I've guarded him well, but like in my eyes, he'd be cooking me. Same with James Harden. Like those guys, like statistically, James on the other hand, still busts my tail. My first 3 years in the league, 4 years in the league, locked was doing a good job. Last 2.5, cooking me. So, like it's just ebbs and flows at the end of the day.
Fair. Biggest trash talker?
Luka.
What does he be saying?
He looked like he be chatting. Ooh, he looked like he be chatting, like he be saying some stuff.
He's our Larry Legend, man. He's the guy that like he's the type of guy that will walk in and be like, who's coming in second type vibe. Like he's just like I remember after we got traded, I remember the leaked audio that came when I missed a 3 in the corner. He was like, hell no, said something else. Like it's like he'll chat you up. And the thing is, he's one of those guys you don't talk to. He's a guy that's like, oh yeah, you let him go do his thing. I might chat him up every now and again, but it's not like chatting him as like you trash. It's more so you chatting like just like messing with him.
Fair. Best coach you've played for?
That's a hard question just because like I always say there's qualities for each. I love Ime the most. Just in terms of I've said that publicly many times. His level of his type of coaching is just very, very helpful for me. Just because he's a direct guy, like he doesn't mind confrontation. And as you know, I'm a very confrontational person. So Ime had all the qualities of a coach that I could look for. Brad Stevens was the best X and O's coaches I've been around. Jason Kidd probably had the best mind, like in terms of seeing the game. And then Charles Lee has a great, dynamic in terms of both being able to coach you, but also have a great personal relationship with you. And then Steve Clifford, defense, man. Like that man had a different sense of intensity. So all of them are different, but Ime is probably my favorite. I'm missing somebody. Oh, Joe, offensive. He's like Pep Guardiola, offensive savant.
Favorite NBA memory?
Seeing Al Horford. It's funny because nothing for me is personal. It's like for my favorite memory was seeing Al Horford after we won the Eastern Conference Finals and seeing him go to the ground like all knees on fours, like crying with the ball. Like that for me will always mean the world to me, just because like that was a moment that I shared with him, and like us all making to the Eastern Conference Finals, making to NBA Finals. Of course, we didn't get the job done, but that was a special moment. And then if you're talking about individually, honestly, I couldn't even tell you.
Maybe still to come. Hopefully still to come. Maybe a championship in your future. I would hope that would be a favorite eventually. Okay. For these last 3, I want you to give me one word answers. Favorite current WNBA player?
Fee.
But okay. WNBA GOAT.
Barazi.
NBA GOAT. Answer wisely.
Jordan? Yeah.
Lachelle, you got something to say about that?
No. I'm not going to say anything. Everyone should be allowed to pick what they pick, Simple. Yeah. Bailey, don't. It's because I say LeBron is my GOAT, but I also grew up watching him. So it's like just a different attachment to it where it's just like.
Him. I always say like the thing about Bron is I think he's the most accomplished athlete in NBA history. Like there's not many people can ever take the accomplishments away from him. But I look at Jordan and his career, and it's like you won 6 out of 6 times. Like it's hard for me to doubt winning.
It's a very valid argument. Look, I appreciate any perspective. See, Bailey just wanted to start something because we had a caller. Yeah, we had a caller come in and was just like, LeBron needs to retire. And I was like, whoa, like what did he do to you? I was like, he was just like, he's selfish. He needs to go. And I'm like, yo, like,
you're taking him picking up his $52 million option for the Lakers. What's your thoughts?
Hey, I'm split. I'm split on it. I mean, him saying, I guess Rich Paul saying like they still want to be super competitive. That was interesting to me, but I don't know. I think Bron it's close. The time is coming. I think the time is coming at this point. I'm just accepting it. It's either happening after this year, depending on the result, but it's
not happening this year. He'll get one more.
You think what?
You gotta see Bryce through.
Okay. I said this the other day to someone and they discouraged like everything. They were like, nah, like, I was like, but he's like right there. Like, I would wait one more. Why not do the double whammy, call it a day? But then I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't want him to push his luck. And then something happens and I'm like, crap, here we go. Like,
his body better than anyone in the world. And he also, it's not like his performance is dipping to a point where he needs to stop. It's different if he was like averaging 6 points a game and 2 rebounds, and he was not the player that he is current to date. But like him able to get 25 points, he was on an all-star level tear this start of season MVP type. So like you just let him be, be Bron, be yourself.
See, Grant, I don't care what they say about you. You're all right with me. All right. I don't care. I'm with you. I'm telling you, they better not come for you at all once you're healthy and everything. Listen, Grant's all right with
love.
Me.
That's real love.
All
That's
right,
real love.
he all right with me.
Here we go.
Hey, we locked in with Grant over here. You got 2 lifelong fans in us now. He said the right thing. He said the right thing. All right, we're gonna pivot into our next segment of the day, and Grant, we're gonna have you be play commentator for the day. So NBA draft was this past week, and huge congrats to all the guys that were selected this year. You're joining a very exclusive club. W's in the chat for all the young men of the 2025 draft class. Grant, I want you to take me back to your draft night in 2019. Walk us through the moment when you got that call, the thoughts, the feelings. Where were you? Who were you with? I don't want you to leave out any details.
Yeah, so I did it at my best friend Lucas Chamberlain's house because at the time, I grew up in a situation where I wasn't able to host a ton of people. So went to my friend Lucas Chamberlain's house in Ballantyne. He had everything set up. My family, friends, a lot of people were there. I had no idea where I was going. I was a guy that was considered before the draft process started, I was considered a mid-second round grade, which is what the NBA told me. But I was like, that's absolutely wrong. So I followed Brandon Clark around the whole time. And, I feel like I brought his value down rather than bringing myself up. Anywho, get there on draft night. And I thought highest I could go was 16 to Orlando. And the reason why I say that is because Orlando was basically hinting at the fact that it was between myself, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and a mystery person. That mystery person is who they selected, which was Chuma Okeke. So when I didn't go to Orlando, I knew I wasn't going 19 to Brooklyn, I think it was, or sorry, San Antonio. I said if I go to San Antonio, it'd be 29. So I was like, all right, so I have nothing really to worry about over these next couple picks. And next, 2021, I knew Boston was trading 2021 happens, which I thought I could potentially go to Memphis, I think it was, or sorry, OKC at the time, but then they traded to Memphis for Brandon Clark. Once that happened, and Tayshaun Prince and them called me and they kind of were asking right before the draft what I thought. And I was like, I played at Tennessee, blah, blah, blah. They went with Brandon Clark. I didn't think I was going to Boston. So I was like, okay, my next pick is 23. I'm going to Utah. I had a confident feeling that I was going to get drafted to Utah. I get a text from a person I hadn't talked to in 5 years, my old high school teammate. His name was Ben Ferris. That said, congrats. And I was like, the heck? And then I got 2 more texts saying, congrats. So I'm calling my agent. I'm like, yo, like, why are people texting me congratulations right now? He's like, I don't know. I was like, all right, like, what's going on? He said, let me look. And he's like, asked around. He's like, I don't know what's going on. And then he's like, wait, actually, like, supposedly, don't take my word for this, but Shams tweeted that you're going to the Celtics at 22. So just take your phone out, and just in case. So I was like, all right, cool. So I take my phone out and start recording. Get drafted to 22. Everyone's going crazy around me. Then Brad and Danny call me after, like probably like 15 minutes after, and was like, or 10 minutes after, and was like, congratulations. Decided to welcome you here to Boston. We're excited to have you, blah, blah, blah. Get excited to see you on Monday, be ready to go, boom, boom, boom. And so, mind you, I didn't think I was going to Boston because in the middle of my Boston workout, I took the clipboard out of Tony Dobbins' hand and drew up a play. And I was like, yep. And then after that, I remember Jalen Renega, I always tell this story wrong because I jokefully say he cursed me out. But Jay, you did not curse me out. You just told me that that's not something cerebral players are cerebral, but like at the same time, you shouldn't be mindful that you have all these different things. And like, you shouldn't do that to a coach. I said, you're right. So, and then I sprained my ankle in the workout. And this is the reason why I think I got drafted there. It's because I sprained my ankle in the workout. and the Boston, they do the 3-minute run. And where Danny comes down, walks down the stairs, and says, "Hey, you don't have to run." I'm like, "Nah, I'm running. Like, this is not, I finished the workout. I'm going to finish the workout." So I end up coming in first in 3-minute run after spraining my ankle. It was a pretty bad sprain. And I think that's the reason I got drafted there. But yeah, that was my draft night. And I remember looking back to it and I was like, "Damn, I'm really going to Boston. Like, I got to make sure." And then Tony Dobbins and I were like this after, like, that's my dog. And like, I look back to it and had some of the best years in Boston too.
Okay, wait. So you're telling me the order that you found out, or the order that the news was communicated, Shams knew first,
Shams knew first.
then the pick was announced, and then you got the call.
Shams knew first. Friends texted me second.
Right.
Agent finds out third. Then I find out fourth on the TV. And then
right. And then you get the call. So it's not like the NFL where they're calling the player first and then they walk out, or and then they know. Oh, I was fully thinking that it was like that.
No.
That's actually kind of crazy, though, that your friends all of a sudden are like, that's wild.
They all texted me and I was like, "Bro, why am I getting congratulations texts?" Like, I'm like, "Bro, the pick hasn't even been announced. It's Boston. Like, maybe I'm about to get picked, or maybe I'm about to get picked on 23. I thought I was going 23. I thought I was going to Utah. So I'm like, maybe the Shams tweeted two picks ahead. And I was like, Grant Williams getting selected by Utah. This person's getting selected by Boston. But then turns out I was going to Boston.
Dang. Wow. I just want to know how Shams knows. That's why he's so good at his job. Shout out Shams.
Back when Woj was a thing too. So him and Shams were going back and forth back then.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like the protege, isn't he? Isn't he from the Yahoo Sports days? I think him and Woj.
Not protege. I wouldn't call it that. I would just
it doesn't. You don't always appoint the protege. They can occur without you thinking that they're watching and trying.
That is true.
You know. Dang, so, that's wild.
No, that is insane. That's actually insane because I did not think the process was like that. So, like I said, shout out Shams for being on top of it. Because I mean, I know like they both stayed when Woj was, not retired, when he was still, actively working. They would both stay, on top of it, and you could look at Twitter, quite literally, and know everything before you saw it on the TV. So that was crazy. What did you end up doing after? Like, how did you celebrate?
I sat there with my family and friends. Really was just like kind of shocked. I didn't cry or anything. I still have the video on my phone. I literally look back and I'm like, dang, like that was a cool night. I just smiled the entire time. And afterwards we just kind of hung out, told stories about high school days, told story about what it was like at college, and then went our separate ways, and I got ready to go to Boston.
Is that the full truth? Is that the full truth?
I'm not like a partier, so it's not like we were like lit and going crazy. It was more so I was just like, all right, like this is cool. Like I think we ended up playing NBA 2K later. Like me and my high school friends, like we were just like as if we were just in high school, just hanging out. And my family was super excited. My grandma, my grandpa, my dad, mom, everybody was together. So it was just a special moment to spend with people around me.
That sounds wholesome.
That's so wholesome.
It was a wholesome night, wholesome guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Typical Grant Williams. All right, I want to pivot and focus on this year's draft. Overall, I want to get both of y'all's thoughts. What did you think? Biggest winner of the draft, sleeper pick of the draft? Grant, I want to start with you.
I'm going to be biased, but I feel like we did a phenomenal job in our draft. Like I remember during our workouts, I texted our assistant GM at the time. You guys seen the movie Draft Day?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So remember that that thing where he slid the sticky note on the table and said Vontae Mack no matter what? I texted during Khan's workout. I texted that to our assistant GM. And I was like, Vontae Mack no matter what. Because that I think he's phenomenal. He's a great human being. He's very talented, very good player. And I feel like he's one of those guys that if we didn't take him at 4, he was going at 5 or gone at 6. So it's hard to trade back. So we got him. So I was super excited about that. I was sad when we traded Mark just because, he's a good friend. But Liam McNeely's really talented as well. I think he had a poor college year because of his injury, not because of his talent. So that's exciting as a pick. And then after that, we got Sion and Ryan, two addressing 2 needs in terms of wing defense and a big man. So I think we did a phenomenal job in terms of our draft. If it wasn't us, of course, I give it to a team honestly, I liked what New Orleans did. I liked even though they traded up their unprotected first-round pick, I don't know if I agree with that. But in terms of their draft picks, Jeremiah Fierce has great potential. Derek Queen is really talented. And also I like what Dallas, Phoenix, and all those other guys did as well. But I would say Charlotte's probably number 1.
Okay. Con no matter what.
No matter what.
I like that. I think the Spurs did better than what people realize. That Carter Bryant pick, I was like, whoa, like I don't think people understand like kind of what they got in Carter Bryant, but I'm like, that right there was like over the top for me. I was like, oh yeah, like y'all might have.
Athleticism is nice. I don't know if I like him as a shooter. That's the hard part.
I like him as a defender. I will say that. I like him as a defender. I like his ability when he's out there. He seems very selfless. The things that I saw from Arizona, like he's not a guy that's going to try to get a shot, but if it's available, he's going to take it. And most of the time he's going to try to be efficient, but I am interested to see how he develops. Cause I feel like college shooters, it could be hit or miss. Like you see one game where they shoot amazing and then like you get in March Madness or something, you're like, dang, what happened? Like it's just one of those things of consistency, but the Pelicans were one for me too. Jeremiah Fears, I think, is like one guy I think a lot of people are going to really love as his career takes off. Mm-hmm. Trading the pick is the only thing I'm torn on, but I'm like, if Derek Queen becomes what they're believing he's going to become, it's like, does it really matter?
Yeah, but what can he, like, the hard part is like, to trade that pick, you're basically saying we're going to be good this year. You're saying DeJounte Murray is going to come back from his Achilles injury. You're saying Zion's going to be healthy. You're saying that Trey Murphy, Eric Jones, all those guys are going to help you win and be a top team in the West. Because if not, you're basically saying in the 2026 class, which is loaded, you pick. And so Derek Queen, like, unless he has to be a better Alperen Sengun, and Sengun took 2-3 years to get to where he was. So like, my question is I'm interested in seeing how it is, because also they're not going to start him. He's not going to play over EBC as a starter unless they start him and Zion, and then you're probably the defensive front court. You're not really having success. So like, I'd be interested in seeing what happens.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good perspective, because I was thinking about that, but I was just like, it made sense, but then it didn't make sense once you realize what they gave up, and then everyone's just like, well, wait. And I don't know. The Pelicans are just trying. Look, okay, I applaud effort. They're just trying their best. Sometimes it's not good enough, but
Jordan Poole, DeJounte Murray, Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson, Eve Macy. That's your starters.
God bless New Orleans.
We're praying for you. We're praying for you. But no, someone in the chat said Pell's got a steal on Derek Queen. I also have to agree on that Jeremiah Fears pick. I've got the chance to see him play when he was still in high school, because he's from Joliet, Illinois, which is maybe 40 minutes outside of Chicago. So he's played in a handful of like showcases here. And him and his brother are nice. He has a brother, I think, who's technically older than him, Jeremy, who's at Michigan State. And they're fun to watch. So I'm excited to see him with the Pelicans. He's got a dope number, 0 fears. I know people are going crazy over that.
That's a jersey.com for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
We need a jersey exchange. Jeremiah Fears, Grant Williams, 2025.
Hey, Connect 4. I feel like there's some cool jerseys out there right now. Connect 4, 0 fears. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And even because there's the nicknames too, like AR-15 with Austin Reeves.
Yeah. Same back in the day with AK-47. That was those are nicknames that are just, I feel like, just are seamless. Like, they're sick.
Yeah. Those are good nicknames.
No, those are good ones. But yeah, no, it was a good draft. It wasn't anything that was overwhelmingly surprising. I think the biggest shock in the draft, the biggest talk of the town, is the Ace Bailey situation, and I want to pivot into that. Ace was taken number 5 overall by the Utah Jazz. He reportedly was not thrilled by the pick. He had declined his workout with not only the Jazz, but at least 4 top 5 teams, including the 76ers and the Hornets. According to reports, he was hoping to head to the Wizards, who had the number 6 pick, but the Jazz got him before he was even given that option. I want to get everyone's opinion on the situation itself, but also the conversation surrounding it, because I feel like we're acting as if we have never seen this before, right? Lonzo did it in 2017. He refused to work out or interview with any team except for the Lakers. His father, LeVar, publicly stated that Lonzo wasn't going anywhere except for LA, and he ended up getting drafted number 2, right? Porzingis did it in 2015. He declined workouts or meetings with the 76ers, who had the 3rd pick. He was trying to avoid a rebuild situation there. He ended up going number 4 overall to the Knicks. Kobe in 96, his agent threatened that he would play overseas, right? We got who else? Steve Francis in '99. He told the Vancouver Grizzlies at the time, who held the number 2 pick, not to draft him. He didn't want to play in Canada. On top of that, he just didn't like their system. He ended up getting drafted there anyways. Curry in 2009. Like, the list just goes on and on, right? Even Bronny last year, he declined all the workouts except for the Lakers and the Suns. Rich Paul was even telling people, hey, if you try to pick him, we're sending him to Australia, right? So Bailey's not the first to do this. He won't be the last. And with that being said, I don't think his camp was in the wrong for how they went about this, because it's clearly worked for some players. And best case scenario was, some it didn't work out so much. So, like, for example, Curry ended up in, Golden State when he didn't want to go to Golden State. But best case scenario, he ends up like a Curry. He makes Utah work for them. He has a very promising and fruitful career with the Jazz. Lachelle, I want to throw it to you. What are your thoughts on the situation and just the conversation as a whole?
I think I have a lot of grace for Ace, because I think once you name all the people that have tried to control their destiny, you kind of sit there and say, okay, it's not like this is an anomaly. I think it's more uncomfortable because we have social media now. So everything is ostracized and it's like, how dare he, and be grateful. And, it's the NBA. But there is a sense of, if I'm getting told for a whole year that I'm this top guy, I've deserved the right. It's not necessarily all about gratitude at this point. It's like, they've already told me my spot is there. No one has told me that they're not going to take me. So if I can control it, why not? I think in hindsight, Utah works for him more than I think he realizes. And I think that's more of a location conversation, because, his reps and stuff said during the NBA Combine, they want a direct path to stardom. They want maximized minutes. They want him to have development. And I'm like, you're kind of getting a pretty good pot over here at Utah. And also, it's crazy for you to think everyone's going to listen to what you want and just pass up on you and you're the best available player. I mean, I think I'm not using it against Ace. I don't like those narratives, because I think essentially he's a teenager and you're getting told this by adults. Like, this is what we need to do. This is how it's going to go. They're guaranteeing things that he's going to trust. I'm sure they're promising him this is going to go how we want it to go. Like, these teams aren't going to take you. And then you see the reaction on draft night and it looks a little bit like disappointment, just a tad, because it's like you felt like you were just one pick away from getting what you wanted. And the Ainge family is like, hello to Utah. Like, it's one of those things. But I think I'm more so looking at the camp. I don't think they're wrong, like you said, Bailey, but I feel for him, because at the end of the day, you're not on the court like he's going to be. He has to go in that locker room now. He has to build up rapport and like really explain to his teammates, because I'm sure it's human nature. You're going to be like, man, this dude ain't want to come here. Like, like, why you acting like that? Like, we over here trying to hoop with you. So I could imagine you put him in a tough spot now, because he has to foster these relationships with the front office. He has to make sure that he's I wouldn't say mending bridges, but almost having to reaffirm that, hey, I'm here to hoop. I want to play ball. And I guess, Grant, I would love to hear from your perspective, if you were Ace's vet and he's coming to Utah per se, right? And he's in that locker room, kind of, what are those conversations looking like, especially for vets, where it's like, why wouldn't you want to come hoop with us?
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, I wouldn't put much pressure on Ace. I look at it as his representation. Because like, it's not him that's coming out in these interviews and saying like, oh, Utah sucks, or this place is that. Like, he's coming to play basketball. So at the end of the day, it's his representation's job to do what's best for their client. So then it's just a question mark on whose representation is and what advice they're giving him. Because, Danny and those guys in Utah, they have a proven track record of success, especially with wings and pass. So I think he's well in a great position. And I think as a teammate, you're not really taking much from it. Like, you don't really think of it, because like all of that's kind of positioning and jockeying. You're just a part of it. Versus if you're Ace, you just have to go in with work mentality. And I think that that's what the Angels believe too, is like, we're drafting you, so you're showing up. And also Danny's the type of person where it's like, you're showing up, and if you don't show up, I'll wait as long as you want to wait. You're gonna have no choice. So one way or the other, you better do your job. So I think at the end of the day, I think he's well positioned to have success. Of course, people want to control their destinies. They want to, have ability to be like, oh, I want to be here. I'd prefer to be here. Well, that's what free agency is for.
Yep.
So do your job and, prepare yourself to be whatever you can become. And then it'll all take care of itself at the end of the day. You don't got to force it. So I think that He is just following the guidance of his counsel, and you want to make sure he has the right counsel around him.
Mm.
That's good advice. And I appreciate you adding that to some other conversation that we've seen from NBA players. I know Draymond commented on it, saying that he's entering the league with a strike. It's a question mark on his character, work ethic. And, like you mentioned his camp. I know Draymond also mentioned his camp. Draymond also said it's now on Bailey to prove himself by being the first in the gym and, show he belongs. Paul George was a little bit more critical. He, was blunt about the situation. He said if he were Bailey, he can't get mad if the stock drops. George also added that Bailey's not necessarily in a position to be making those demands. Make it to the league first. I want to get your perspective on, their comments as your fellow colleagues. Do you think that's a little too tough on Bailey, given your stance on it, or do you think that was an appropriate response from them?
I think they're coming from a veteran thought process is that you have to grind. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't. Like, he's a person that has to, show that he's the player that he thinks he is. He's going to have to show up and perform. He's going to show up before and early, because if you're going to be the franchise player and act like it, you better do all the things that comes with it. So I think they're coming from that stance, in my opinion. He's in a different position than they were at the time when they were younger too. Like, you got to think, like, Draymond was in the second round, PG was 13th pick. So like, it's a different scenario, especially in terms of like, he was a top 3, top 5 considered prospect. And he's just like, you look at Eli Manning and those guys of the past, people try and control their destinies all the time, like you said. But, they also came out of it and performed. So I think all this conversation stops if he does his job and make sure that he leaves no question on the character, the person, and the talent that he is. If he does that and performs, we don't have to worry about anything. It's what we run into is if he doesn't do that, then you're wondering, like, did he have the right representation? Should he have been more humble? Like, low arrogance is never gonna hurt nobody if you're, like, you can be arrogant if you're that guy. A lot of those guys, like, as much as I always say, Steph, most humble superstar there is in the world. But at the same time, like, you have to have that rational confidence too to take the shots that he takes. He has to have that little kind of arrogant step to be the person that he is. So like, you can't be more of a asshole than your performance dictates.
Absolutely. That makes sense. And we've got Summer League in a couple weeks. So, his time is coming in terms of showing us what he's got and putting, the action to the words and kind of, walking the walk instead of talking the talk. Not that he's been the one necessarily talking the talk, but you know what I mean.
Got to step up for the people that are talking it around him, though.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to pivot into our next segment, which touches on one of your old teammates, Jayson Tatum. A few weeks after tearing his Achilles, JT seemed to be in a pretty positive mood about his rehab. And he's only a month and about a half, into his road to recovery, he's been doing a really good job at keeping all of us updated. He's been documenting almost day by day on social media, kind of how he's feeling. And lately, Tatum didn't seem too positive in his update, saying, day 45, which was, I believe, 2 days ago, quote unquote, this is some BS. Grant, I want to throw this to you. First, I'm curious to know if you've talked to Jayson lately, and if so, what those conversations have been like.
Yeah, that's my dog. I saw him a couple weeks ago. I was in Boston for my brother's graduation for my teeth. So, saw him after, I think it was probably 2 weeks after the date happened. I've been going, like, the injury stuff is not fun. Like, that's you've been doing something your entire life. Like, I think this is his like first major injury, similar to myself, like first major injury, and it's something that you have to, be mentally prepared for, and no one's ever prepared. Like, it's something you have to go through the ebbs and flows. You're gonna deal with the days where you feel like everything's great, you're fine, you feel like you can get back to it. There's gonna be days where you go through and you're like, bro, this is the worst experience I've had in my life. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. So like, he's gonna experience that, and I think that him documenting it, like, I feel like, keep people updated on your progress is all. It helps your mental progress as well. Like, your cerebral, it helps your mind, help you feel more confident in yourself. Like, I have a hell of videos on my phone. I just never post them because it's like one of the things. I'm a person that likes to do things in private and see how I've kind of stepped in my journey and see, like, dang, and back in the day I couldn't do a single leg squat. Now I can do it and I'm confident doing it. Like, I feel so much like more like I could look back to when I couldn't do it and be like, dang, those times sucked. But now I look to it and you're like, dang, I'm on the other side of the horizon. So I think he's going to deal with that as the rehab goes on. I think he's in higher spirits. There's gonna be a day that he's gonna like break down and go through it. I think he broke down the first night that it happened, like similar to Halliburton. He probably broke down the first night it happened. He's gonna get through his rehab, go through 2-3 months. He's gonna feel good, and all of a sudden there's gonna be some type of like not setback, but some type of challenge that's gonna make him, whether it's mental, whether it's something that he's doing outside of basketball, whether it's outside of rehab, it's gonna be something that just emotionally you're gonna break down again. And I talked to a veteran about this, and I talked to some people that have dealt with the injuries about it. Like everyone goes through it. So you have to let the emotions come. I told him the same thing. I said, listen, you're gonna be emotional, and it's okay. Like it's not doesn't make you less of a man to be emotional about it, to, acknowledge what you're going through freaking sucks. But at the same time, like we both know your work ethic and your progress is you're gonna come back better than you were before. And I'm excited to see his journey and his recovery. And I'm happy that he's sharing it with his fans and people that care about him, because he's a lot of people and he's a lot of supporters because of the genuine person and human being that he is. So I'm excited for his progress and his recovery, and I'm here as a resource to him. As I told him when I saw him in person, like whatever he needs, even if it's just a quick phone call for 2-3 minutes, I'm here for him.
Mm-hmm. And you're both going through, a very similar journey right now. You talked a little bit about your injury. What does this stretch look like for you mentally? The highs, the lows. You said you're a very private person. Tell us what the fans aren't seeing.
Yeah, it's just like fans. Like I'm excited to see what Kyrie's kind of documentary looks like. I like seeing other people's journeys is always, because you go through it yourself. Like I feel like that's where people can do a better job. Technically, I could do a better job of, because people might want to see my journey and see what I went through and the struggles. But like at the same time, you want to kind of push through it yourself, and a little bit of both. So the journey's difficult. I've broken down into tears more than I have in the past 26 years of my life. So like it's one of those things that you just have to be mindful of, and like try and strengthen your mental health, because it's just as important as your physical. Physical is going to come. You're going to do the work. Like the work is not the issue. All of us love to work. All of us are here for a reason. Like we wouldn't be in the NBA if we weren't. But how you come back comes down to like what you kind of think of yourself after the fact. If you have the same confidence in your ability, if you have that confidence in the injured location that you are going through, like my knee, like am I confident enough to cut on it the way I did, stop on it the way I did, shoot, come back on the court and be the player that I was, fight through screens the same way. Like these are all things that, as you get back to return to play, become more difficult. So like, even for myself, like before it was like, oh, this is painful. Like getting through this, like it hurts. Like I'm sore. Like it's like when you're going through it, you don't think your leg can do it, because like you're like, oh, like it's so much pain, I can't fight through it. But you have to tell yourself, like there's times where I've done imagery in the middle of my workout where I'm like imagining my quad firing, because like I was like, that's what has helped me then lift 120, 150, whatever is pounds to get it up. So like that's something that when you go through injury, you're going to have to fight through a lot of mental hurdles. So similar to now, like right now is my return to court kind of progression, where like I'm starting a locomotive, or I'm starting to like getting ready for my cutting progressions. And then that way, like after when I start cutting progressions, you're back to normal, like you're back to playing. So like these are the things that like you have to start mentally preparing for. Because before it was all lifting. It was all like, oh, I have to get this thing stronger. I have to be more prepared. I have to make sure my leg is right. And now it's still that, but on top of that, you have to prepare for oh, I'm lifting, but now I also have to get on the court after. Now I have to like get ready for my cardio, get ready to do this, get ready to do that. So these are all things that I feel like you're going to have the hurdles. I'm going to probably break down again in the next 3 or 4 months. And you have to be uncomfortable with that, because, you have to be comfortable and uncomfortable.
You talk about returning to the court. Do you think going through something like this changes the way that you see the game, or even change the way you think about your own identity?
Guaranteed. I feel this is where I feel kind of not disappointed. I feel kind of upset, just because I feel very bad about the Dames, the Tyreses, and the JTs of the world, because they did it at the end of the season. Like they did it at the last moment, and like now they're gonna have to sit through the summer and then part of the season. First of all, when I did it at the beginning of the year. It was absolutely horrible, because like you want to be there for your team and stuff like that. You want to play. Like that's the number one thing, you want to play. But you realize you become more aware. Like I became so much more aware of my surroundings, how to communicate with my teammates, like how to focus in on things that were important. Like before I just talked, I feel like at times just to talk, like I might be saying the right things, but I might have said it 4 straight huddles, you know? So like rather than doing that, I might be like, all right, say these words once, and then, let somebody come up to you if they have any questions. Let like that awareness kind of change your awareness of not just the basketball, but your own life, like the things that you're going through at home. You're like, oh, actually, no, I didn't pay attention to the fact that the stove has not been this correct. Like I feel like you just become more aware of your surroundings. And that's where I always say, coming out of your injury, you have to keep the same level of awareness because you don't want to turn into that same person. Like before, I feel like I was operating on autopilot. Like even when I started therapy, I started therapy after the injury, and like realizing that your life the past 5 or 4 or 5 years when you've been in NBA, you've just been playing. You've just been like, all right, this is kind of what I do. Go to my work, go to this, not really feeling the emotions of the day. Versus now, like being able to be more in tune with myself to be able to say like, no, today did suck. Like and acknowledging it rather than just being like, oh yeah, just another day. Like be like, it's okay to be like, all right, today was rough. And it doesn't mean that tomorrow will be. It doesn't mean that yesterday was, but like acknowledging that in the moment that this was rough and, maybe I do need to go take care of myself in some capacity. Maybe I gotta, go take my dogs to the park, and take my mind off it. Maybe I, go have a date with my girlfriend. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. So I feel like that's what the mind frame is.
Yeah, that's a lot to go through. I mean,
That's a deep perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, can't relate. I cannot relate in the slightest. So
It happens in some capacity. It might not be injury. It might be something else that brings you awareness back in life. I feel like everybody goes through it at one point.
no, that's true. Yeah, I mean, everybody's path looks different, and like you said, it could be another moment in life that definitely gets you to that point of realization. But I appreciate you sharing that perspective. That's, I'm sure, like I said, something that people don't know about you. Like I said, you're a private person, and opening up to fans, I think definitely helps give people a little bit of insight into everything, and hopefully a little bit of grace in the situation as well, right? I want to go ahead and pivot into our favorite segment of the night. Lachelle, do you want to go ahead and tee us up?
Yes, because I'm excited. Chat, you already know what time it is. It's the hotline. Now, before I start saying the number that is also in the chat and on the screen, do not embarrass us today. We have company, okay? You know how your mom got to sit you down and be like, hey, clean your room. We got people coming over. Do not act like a nutcase today. That's all I'm saying. Just, okay, come with your hot takes, come with everything. But we got company, okay? Call the number 312-626-6799. After that, you're going to end up having to put a code in 885-4089-5929 with the pound sign. You are calling a Zoom, so don't freak out if you hear that once you do all that. But y'all heard what I said now. Like, I'm not a mother, so I don't have like that mother stare that like, Black mothers, they could give you at any moment without saying anything. I don't have that, but please, be kind, please. Don't embarrass us.
Got company. You can't embarrass our guests. Not today. I'm going to go ahead and admit caller number one. Be sure to mute or turn down the volume from the show in the background.
Okay.
Caller, who do we have?
We have Travis and Wes from Indiana.
Travis?
How are you doing, Travis?
Good. I have Wes here as well. Wes is we consider the number one Grant Williams fan in the Midwest.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Okay.
My guys.
Yep.
Travis.
We just had one Grant request. Can we get more pictures of the dogs on social media?
Guaranteed. I'll post one tomorrow for you. How about that?
Oh, that'd be great.
I got you for
That'd be great.
The pups are doing.
What do you think for the off season? What grade do you give Jeff Peterson and his work?
Give them an A++. They've done a phenomenal job, I think, so far. And so I feel like based on the moves that we've made, I don't think we're done. So we'll see what's left. Just because like the trade for Colin Sexton today, and we have Musa and Ryan as our 2 5s, unless you consider me a 5 as well. So maybe we go into the season that way. I don't know what we look like. But I think they've done a phenomenal job in terms of building the Hornets DNA and the Hornets culture. So now it's just a matter of them trusting their process and doing it some more. And then in terms of the pups, they are knocked out right now, but I have to take them out for their nightly walk. And then after that, right back.
You got to remember back when the Hornets DNA really started was when the trade came over. When you came over, you brought the grit and the toughness, and then that's really what I see a turning point for the organization.
Oh, real love, Trav. I really appreciate it. That's something that we look back with Seth, myself, Trey Mann. That was good times. Hopefully it could be the start of something special for this organization.
Agreed.
Travis and Wes.
Wes is sitting over.
I was going to say, does Wes have a question? Wes, do you have a question for Grant, for our special guest for today?
Go ahead. Ask you if you can work his golf.
Oh, can I work your golf thing again this year?
Absolutely. August 25th, 2025. I'll see you then.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll
Thank you so much, Travis and Wes, for calling in, for being our first caller. We appreciate it, you guys.
No problem.
We got our second caller here on the line. Who do we have?
Hi, guys. My name is Louie. I'm a big fan of the show. I've been listening since the first day, so I love watching you guys. Grant, I'm a big fan of you as well. I've been following you pretty much since you started with Boston, and I also had fun watching you guys even during the pandemic, like when you were in the playoffs. So I'm a big fan of you. I look up to you a lot. I want to ask you about NBA players in broadcast media. I know we're in this era now where we have so many players who come out of the game, and really broadcast media has become a legitimate avenue where a lot of players, even like during summer, in between seasons, like they'll do stints on ESPN or Fox or TNT, and it's really become, you know, like a career path. Do you see yourself doing that as well? I know we joked at the beginning of the show about this being like your audition tape. Do you see yourself doing that as well?
If I'm asked to, I feel like analysis is needed in today's NBA and today's game, and players have do a great job of communicating their thoughts and their opinions. Thing is, like, players, people want to hear about not only their story, but also want to hear what their thoughts are, especially the right players if they're saying the right things. Like I always say, there's some really good commentators, especially like you look at JJ Redick when he used to analyze and examine the game before you got into coaching. It was something I really and thoroughly enjoyed. There's a lot of guys, and then you have the perks of the world who just kind of give the hot takes. So you kind of have a mix of it all. And I think it's a great career stepping stone for a lot of guys. And I think for myself, it's something that if people are interested and want me to participate, then it's something that I could explore and consider. But at the same time, like I said, I feel like media or front office are my two routes. I don't want to be that guy though in the media though, because sometimes I feel like you want to tell the honest truth in your opinions, and you also want to be respectful to the players in the game. Like that's the hard part.
Right.
You want to balance the two, and making sure that you're both critical and honest, but also understanding that, you know, while you were playing, you wanted the same grace. You might have had a bad night or something like that. It shouldn't make the character of the person. So I think that's the hard part about sometimes these conversations. And plus, you're going to piss a lot of people off sometimes. I remember I did a podcast and said some thoughts, and the player called me. He was like, "Hey man, what are you talking about?" And I was like, honestly, I probably should have done more homework because I didn't realize you were so accomplished. Like I watched film of you, and I thought my assessment was correct, but I didn't know accolades wise the way that you had it. So like those are the things that you kind of have to be mindful of and thoughtful of, especially if you're a player.
That's a really good answer. No, I love that answer. And actually, as you were saying all of that, it reminded me of Bob Myers, the former Golden State GM, who's now on ESPN. And if you ask me, I actually think he's doing great because I love a lot of the analysis that he brings. And so I think that goes back to what you were saying, where it's not only doing the homework, but having the experience. And I think like that's an example of being a GM, like being in a front office, knowing what it's like, and then being able to reflect on that with new things that are happening. So no, that's really cool. I love that.
Of course, I agree, Lily.
Well, listen, thank you so much, guys. Bailey and Lachelle, keep it up with the great work. I love this show, and I can't wait for more episodes.
Thanks so much, Louie.
Thanks, Louie. We appreciate you calling.
Bye, guys. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Louie.
Alrighty. I think we're gonna cap it there. Honestly, 2 callers. We got some some good questions out of Louis. We got, like I said, a Grant Williams fan and Travis and Wes out of Indiana. So before we wrap, Grant, I want you to nominate someone to be our next guest, okay? It can be another athlete, it could be a celebrity, it could be a sports personality, and whoever you choose, if they come on the show, we will give one lucky subscriber. They must be subbed to the stream, though. So if you're not subbed, if you follow, great, but you must be subbed to the stream. We will give one lucky subscriber $100. So, Grant, who is your nominee?
Question is, I feel like it's got to be somebody from this recent finals run. So I'm going to give it to my nominee is going to be on the Indiana side too. Shout out Indiana. Let's give it to either Aaron Nesmith or Halle Burton.
Halle Burton. Okay, I like that.
Those are the two nominations.
All right, Aaron Nesmith or Tyrese Halliburton. Chat, I need you to clip that. We need that on TikTok ASAP. If you post it, spam tag me, spam tag Lachelle.
Please.
Our socials are at the bottom of the screen. And you need to spam tag Aaron Nesmith and you need to spam tag Tyrese Halliburton. Post it on Instagram too. Post it everywhere. We got to get
everywhere.
The stream. Okay. One lucky subscriber. Like I said, you must be subbed to the stream. We'll win $100 if we get either of them on the show.
It's a great nomination.
Great nomination. W's in the chat for that nomination. I like both of them. I would love to talk to Tyrese. I feel like in the middle of an injury, I don't know how likely we will be to get him. But you said what?
If not, how about this? Since Tyrese, you're right, injury right. We'll swap him out with Obi Toppin.
Okay,
that's a good one.
Okay.
Obi and Nesmith.
Okay, same direction, chat. Spam tag Obi. Spam tag Aaron. We got to get them on the stream. Grant, it was a pleasure having you on the stream tonight. We are live on Twitch every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. So make sure you sub or hit that follow button. And if you miss part of the stream, don't worry. Every episode is posted on YouTube the following day, Mondays, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Again, thank you, Grant, for joining us. It was another W stream. We appreciate you having us. Yes, having us or having you as our first guest. It was a huge honor. And any parting words for the chat?
Just that, if you're gonna visit somewhere, choose Shreveport over Gary. And also, you can subscribe to OTR. And it's going to be a great rest of the season. I feel like there's going to be some cool guests. And also, I feel like there's going to be a great conversation. And also, if you need to talk about Love Island, don't hit up Bailey, hit up Lachelle.
Man. If anybody tries to mess with you, dog.
No, because I'm going to be the one to mess with him. Grant, you about to see me in 2-3 weeks at Summer League and you don't catch these hands. That's what's going to happen. Lachelle's about to be in the middle of a fist fight between two of us.
I feel like I'm trying to divorce parents or something. Whoa. I feel like I'm in a custody battle. No.
I didn't like that first statement.
Okay, they always say daughters love the father instead. They always say that's how it works. So.
I don't know what to do. Bailey, fight back.
Oh, I will. You're going to see it live, Summer League. Grant and I don't know what event I'll catch you at, but I will for sure see you.
That's hilarious.
It's going to be on. It's going to be live. Maybe streamed on here. It might be streamed on my Instagram. But yeah, we have beef now. We have beef.
We're going to have Grant back at some point, Chad. He's got to come back. I love it. Come back anytime.
I don't know if you're welcome back, Grant. This might be your last time. You might be good with Lachelle, but I don't know. On that note, we're going to cut it here. We out. Bye, guys.